Hi, and after a very long hiatus, I am finally back doing an episode of The Average Joe Hockey Report. In this video, I'm going to go over Zachary Bolduc, which is the player that the Montreal Canadiens traded for, Evgeny Kuznetsov rumors, and Montreal's second power play. Let's start off with Bolduc. And, I looked up, YouTube videos on him and whatnot. He could be possibly the biggest wild card trade, acquisition, whatever, this offseason. Here's a guy that could possibly push either, he could possibly push Patrick Laine down the lineup or whatnot. And with his style of play, he was drafted as a center. I don't think they're going to be committed to playing him at center. I think he's going to be playing right wing or whatever. But, I'm sure he could play either wing, whatnot. He's a good hitter. He's got a quick release. Could easily one-time a shot. He's got a good wrist shot too, whatnot. This could be a very underrated signing for the Montreal Canadiens. He's a good power play guy. He's good on the power play too, which is why we're going to eventually, talk about, the second power play line for the Montreal Canadiens and whatnot. But yeah, this is a guy that's gonna be motivated now that he's going back to his home province in Quebec. And with him being there, I think, I'd like to think that other, second line players from the Montreal Canadiens, whether it's Patrick Laine, whether it's Kirby Dach playing the wing, or whatever they decide to do with him, whether it's Alex Newhook, whatever. I think basically I'd even say the only player who's safe on the second line is Ivan Demidov. That's assuming they're committed to putting Demidov on the second line, which I hope so. Anyways, let's go on to the second topic. There's been rumors of Evgeny Kuznetsov possibly signing with the Montreal Canadiens now that his team in the KHL, SK St. Petersburg, let him go. I think Montreal would have this cap space for him. It doesn't show on cap wages at the moment, but that's because, they have to put Carey Price back on long-term injury reserve for one more year, which I'm sure they will. So it'd be one more year of Carey Price on LTIR. But I'd like to think that, Kuznetsov's not going to cost much. Now, would I be for or against it? I wouldn't mind it for a short term, but would not. 3 years max, I would say. I would say put him, give him 3 years max until, Michael Hage is ready. Because Michael Hage, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many others it seems, is projected to be the second line center in Montreal. Now, Kuznetsov, I wouldn't give him more than 3 years if the Montreal Canadiens went to go sign him. Kuznetsov does have chemistry with Ivan Demidov and is good at winning faceoffs and still has the offensive talent. Last season in SK St. Petersburg, he played 39 games. He had 12 goals, 25 assists for 37 points. So I think the offense is still there. He's not the player he once was, obviously, but I think he would be a good short-term solution at number 2 center for Montreal until Michael Hage is ready. Yeah. And then, of course, I think also he could possibly be a good mentor to Ivan Demidov. And I'd like to think that he's humbled a bit because he's not the player he once was. Obviously, he kind of came off as, pretty you could say overconfident, call it cockiness or whatnot. And then, of course, he had his, off-ice brouhaha that put him into NHLPA assistance program, whatever. I'd like to think that's behind him, though. Now that he's I think, humbled a bit. And yeah, so I don't know. I'd be fine with either way, whether Montreal signs him or not. But yeah, I'd say if they sign him, no more than 3 years max, no more than that, more or less. And all right, number three for the third topic would be the second power play line. And I think, obviously most teams, they rely on the first power play line to be the power play line that scores or whatever. But I think Montreal can deploy 2 power play lines this season. I think between Ivan Demidov, if you put Zachary Bolduc on the second power play line and Noah Dobson, I think already that enough makes the second power play line intriguing. I would still have Nick Suzuki play both power play lines unless they do sign Kuznetsov. Then you could have Kuznetsov as the center on the second power play line. But yeah, as it is, I think the second power play line, in no particular order, I'd keep Suzuki there. I would have Demidov there, whether playing the point or bumper, whatever. Maybe he would play the other point. Yeah, so I'd say Suzuki, Demidov, Bolduc, Gallagher, and Dobson. That would be my second line. Yeah. But yeah, I think Montreal next season, they could have deploy 2 power play lines, and then even then the top power play, and even then the top power play, some of those guys aren't safe either. Like I wouldn't say Patrick Laine is spot on the top power play line is safe. You could even make the argument Noah Dobson could take over that spot, and then Uri Slavkovsky, you could even say Ivan Demidov could take that spot. There could even be a spot for Zach Bolduc, whatnot. I just think it's going to be an interesting season for the Montreal Canadiens as they added depth on defense and a bit of depth on forward. Now, I still think the second line is going to be a bit iffy. I think there's still going to be questions there. But I'd like to think that, the shots for generated is not going to be 30th in the NHL. And then, the puck possession stats, I'd like to think are going to be better. But we'll see. This video is mostly based on opinion and may not have any implications on how these players or the team does in general. So remember, if I'm wrong, don't belittle me, educate me. Take care, everyone, and follow my Instagram account, The Average Joe Hockey Report, and my YouTube channel, Marty Tommy, in parentheses, Average Joe Hockey Report.